Who am I? Am I the body, mind, or something else? These are the age-old questions that every philosopher throughout the ages has tried to grasp and understand. After all, how will you know what to do in life if you do not even know who or what you are? However, the ancient Vedic literature of India has provided the clearest answers that have been found anywhere to answer these questions. For example, the Mukunda Upanishad explains that the living being is the soul and that the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entity. When the soul is purified from the contamination of 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Chandogya Upanishad also states that although the body withers and dies when the self or soul leaves it, the living self does not die. Further enlightenment is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein it explains that the spirit soul has no death and is eternal and inexhaustible. He is completely different from the material body, but because of being misled by misuse of slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy, and thus be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. The eternal nature of the self is also explained in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Sri Krishna, where he specifically says that there was never a time when he did not exist, nor any of the living beings, including you, nor shall any of us ceases to be in the future. The embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age in this body. Similarly, the soul enters another body at the time of death. But for one who is self-realized, there is no bewilderment through such a change. It is further explained that we should know that which pervades the entire body, the consciousness is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul, only the material body of the living entity is subject to destruction. For the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever ceases to be. He is unborn, undying, and eternal. He is not slain when the body dies or is killed. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old one, similarly the soul accepts new material body, giving up the old and useless one. Certainly, this knowledge can reveal anyone from the anxiety that comes from thinking our existence is finished at death. Spiritually, we do not die, yet the body is used until it is no longer fit to continue. At that time, it may appear that we die, but that is not the case. The soul continues on its journey to another body according to its destiny. The indestructibility of the soul is also explained. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. The soul is everlasting and unchangeable and eternally the same. Knowing this, we should not grieve for the temporary body. So the body dwells and dies, but the soul does not die. It simply changes bodies. Therefore, the body is like a shirt or coat that we wear for some time, and when it is worn out, we change it for a new one. Therefore, the Vedic literature such as the Chandogya Upanishad mentions that knowledge of the self within is what should be sought and understood by all. Realizing one's spiritual identity solves the problem and miseries of life. The more we realize our spiritual identity, the more we will see that we are beyond these temporary material bodies, and that our identity is not simply being a white body or black, fat or skinny, intelligent, dumb, weak, strong, blind, etc. Real blindness means not being able to see through the temporary and superficial bodily conditions and into the real person within. Seeing reality means to recognize the spiritual nature of everyone. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the soul is self-illuminous, beyond birth and death, and unlimited by space or time, and therefore beyond all changes. The Bhagavatam also points out that as one witnesses the birth and death of a tree and is separate from it, similarly, the witness of the birth, death, and various activities of the body is within but separate from it. The size of the soul is also described in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, when the upper point of an hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such part is further divided into 100 parts. Each such part is a measurement or dimension of spirit soul. So to considering that the diameter of a typical hair is about 3,000 of an inch wide, then to divide that into 100 parts and then divide one of those parts again into 100 parts means that it would be microscopic. And since it is spiritual and not made of material substance, to perceive the presence of the soul is not so easy. It is invisible to our material vision. The Chandogya Upanishad goes to explain that the self is free from sin and old age, hunger and thirst, death and grief, lamentation and sadness, and all forms of bodily identification. It desires only what is owed to desire and imagines nothing but what is owed to imagine. Those who depart from this life without having discovered the self and those true spiritual desires have no freedom in all the worlds. But those who depart from here after realizing one's genuine spiritual identity and those spiritual inclinations have freedom in all the worlds. So to summarize, who am I? I am not this body, but the spirit soul. The soul is a particle of consciousness and bliss in its purified state of being. It is not material in any way. It is what departs from the body at the time of death, and in the subtle body it carries its mental impressions, desires, and tendencies along with the karmic results of its activities from one body to another. To understand and perceive the self, which is our genuine spiritual identity, is the real goal of life. Such a realization relieves one of further material existence. As it is explained, those who have purified their consciousness, becoming absorbed in spiritual knowledge and absorbing any impurities in the mind, are liberated from karma that frees them from any future birth. They are free from any more births in the material body and are delivered to the spiritual atmosphere. How to do this is the ultimate accomplishment of the human existence. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.